another episode of Everybody Hates Black Men. I'm your host, Edward Anderson. Yo, I was listening to a little bit of SWP's video, and he was talking about, he had a video. He's got a 2.5 hour video. He's sitting here talking about Nick Fuentes. He played Nick Fuentes, and he started talking about Legion of Men. So I actually just got it started with it. But he was talking about the pseudo-intellectualism that Legion of Men does. And I want to kind of have some thoughts on that real quick. And what I want to talk about is a race war. It's going to sound kind of crazy, but a lot of white men have, when it comes to white men and black women, have a lot of similarities when it comes to like how they respond when it comes to their insecurities and power dynamics on a lot of things. I'm not trying to sit there and throw black women under the bus, but they really have a lot of similarities. I don't know why that is. I don't know if black women get a lot of these bad habits from white men. I don't know, but they have a lot of similarities as far as how they go about doing things when they're angry. And it's not to say white women are better than white women, but the difference is men have to adjudicate the violence. White women can call white men to adjudicate violence. And white men are always more than happy to adjudicate violence. And by the way, white men rarely shoot the fade one-on-one. They have to have overwhelming force. Because white men, if it's not a soft target, a lot of white dudes, and it's not everybody, but white dudes don't have a culture of shooting a fade properly. They just don't believe that. They don't believe it, especially when it comes to black men. But, a lot of people, it really, really kind of, I'm not going to forget, the Civil War shit that Andrew Tate did. I'm not going to forget, the J.D. Vance stuff. You give somebody an honest try, but there's a reason why I call them Clan Eyes. I'm not gonna, Andrew Tate wants to, kiss white ass, even though these are the same white people that would have had him wind up like Charlie Kirk. Understand, there's a lot of people quietly saying they wish it was him. These are Caucasians, by the way. Only white people. I want you to really understand that. The people that want, and I wish I could say this to the people that want you and your brother in jail or dead are only white people. Not black people, not Muslim people. Nobody else is sweating them like that. A lot of people may not like them. It's only white Caucasian people. They're real, and look, you say, the small hat, those are the white versions of them. Yeah, shout out to, hey yo, hit me up, compassionate call outs, compassionate callous, my bad. Bad habits, yo, either in TikTok or in the Telegram. And by the way, shout out to Compassionate Callous for the 10,000 wow, subscribers on YouTube. So make sure you all, subscribe to his channel. If you're not subscribed, he does a good job, being a cartographer of our information. And we definitely need to support the people that do that, because we got a lot of people that like to make us look bad. Don't even get me started on the Passport Bros. To be honest with you, I'm probably going to do a video roasting Passport Bros, because there needs to be some coming to Jesus conference. And not necessarily because of the couple of events that's happened, but it's just, I personally don't like the way they counter program. I really think they don't, it's been too long. And quite frankly, they really don't go at it the way I think they should. And this keeps this stuff going a lot more than otherwise needs to. And there needs to be, some real talk on that. But that's coming down the pipe. But as far as this, and I don't mean to even just jump on Andrew Tate like that, but Andrew Tate necessarily, because he's got bigger problems than but at the end of the day, you feeding into, this is the danger that Andrew Tate doesn't understand, that he seems to not get. The danger is, no matter how you slice it and dice it, you are biracial. And because you're biracial, I really have a feeling that it really irks folks that you have that kind of hold on young white men and you're biracial. It doesn't matter that you're, because the Tates are pretty white passing. They are white passing. At the end of the day, that's on some ghost by the door psyop crap, and it doesn't matter if you're a white supremacist. And so at the end of the day, you know, you feeding into that, you know, jumping on, you know, saying stuff like the Civil War thing, but it wasn't, he jumped on the wave. He wasn't the only one. Even JD Vance, I don't think he tweeted Civil War, but he was talking about, you know, white men, like this goofy shit, you know, that white men fight back bullshit. And I will never, the thing that it's not even the racism that really bothers me. What bothers me is why you all foam at the mouth around white people. Because at least Andrew Tate will call out the big wigs. At least they will do that, you know, and they put themselves at real risk. They really do. I mean, they've been in jail. I mean, you can't say they don't. And I'm not saying they're pro-black people at all. They're pro-themselves. But I gotta acknowledge that. But most white men, they're too pussy to do that. Most white men, and there was a Discord post that somebody posted. They shared a post talking about when they look back in America after America collapses, they'll talk about how people worship the poor, worship the rich. No, yeah, but that's not really what it is. It's why. The main reason why the poor worships the rich, it's not to say black people obviously are materialistic as hell too, particularly black women, black men too to a certain extent. So I'm not saying they're not, but white people identify with their elite, like they really believe they are them. And SAB's done a good job talking about how white people's default is feudalism and how race allows them to forget that. White people will be in a trailer park and be happy with that if they believe black people are homeless. That's a delusion. And that's a delusion that the elite has been able to control you with. If black people, and so this is going back to the race war thing, because I want to really be specific. Here's the truth. The truth is, let's be very clear here. Let's be very clear here. You can't kill if you kill, I'm just gonna go raw with it. Because I really want people to understand that this is not, people are not just talking shit. I want to go raw with it. As raw as you're gonna go. Like I'm talking to a foaming at the mouth, rabid dog right supremacist. I'm talking way racist than Nick Fuentes. I'm talking about white dude that's hung a couple of Negroes in the modern era. Here's the truth. Here is the truth. You all are like 8% of the fucking population. 16% is counting Arabs, is counting white Hispanics. And this is not to say that a lot of these people are are pro-black. They're not. But when we look at Anglo-Saxons, Germans, Prussians, Trump is Prussian, German. So you were talking about Austria, Hungary, Vienna, city in Austria, Germany. We're talking about, because technically Poland would be considered Eastern, even if you add Russians, Polish, the Slavs, with the Slavs are considered lesser, but we'll just add them in there. You are like the real white folks, not white adjacent, but the real white. Though, if you add the white adjacent, you're at 16% of the population. If you start, but let's be clear, when it comes to the Islamic whites, we already know what time that really is. So if you talk about Western European whites, you're talking about 8% of the population. You don't have the numbers. You don't have them. You don't have them. And the Asians are they may, even if they may be bigoted, but they're not afraid of black people like that. Asians don't have the same, like Chinese, Han and them, they have their own racism, but they don't have the same fear Their racism and white people's racism is very different. And make no mistake, a lot of Asians used to be a lot darker. But the reality is they've got the population. They've got the population. The reality is it's almost as many Han. It's probably more Han Chinese. That's the main ethnic group of Chinese, the Han. Then they're all Western European whites. And then you add Americans. It's that big of a difference. It's that big of a difference. And so they're not afraid of being genetically wiped out like white people are. They don't have the same issue. You know, Chinese have that's a 3,000, you know, at least, you know, civilization, you know, kingdom, even though technically it was multiple different dynasties. There's a lot of different stuff going on there. You know, there's a lot of different stuff going on. So it wasn't one continuous thing. I get that. But my point is that you don't have the numbers. It doesn't matter unless you're just going to end the world and kill yourselves with it. Because if that's what we're talking about, so we're assuming you all are not going to just do the control, alt, delete, and just nuke the planet. So we're on some Fallout or something like that. Because at the end of the day, you're going to lose too. You're going to lose too. Anyway. Even if you kill every single African American, the reality is Africa is the youngest population. Africa is still there. And Africa is the youngest population. And they're the only population that's growing. And a big part of that is because you turn Africa into a distraction operation. And Africa is one of the furthest away from the fourth industrial complex, which means they're still having kids more, unlike everywhere else. Which is ironic, because if you hadn't did that, they might, maybe not, you don't know, be in the same situation. Also remember that COVID affected Africa the least for similar reasons, right? We're not even going to talk about the conspiracy theories about Ebola, and was Ebola really a job to try to depopulate Africa because white people really don't have the stomach to really go into Africa and clear it like that. They're not going to be able to do that, and they're definitely not going to be able to do that now, because the Chinese would take geopolitical advantage of that, because that would turn the Africans completely away from, and they would be able to block that. The Russians would too. So you don't even have all white people out on the same team. We're talking really Western European whites and then some Eastern European whites. The Russian bloc is not on your team. They're not really on your team like that. They're on their own thing under the Russian Federation. So you don't have all white people on your team. And even the Arabs are like Erdogan, even the Arabs, they hedge their bets. And if they see that white people are not, or don't have teeth like that anymore, they're going to turn on you. People just don't hate black people that much. It's not like black people are just everywhere. The majority, a lot of them, it's not like that. It's really not. So they don't have this, like even the Arab, they don't have this fear that's unique to Caucasians and Anglos and like Western Europeans. Even the Germans, to be fair, didn't have that fear like that to that extent, although they had racism. But the Anglos, the French, all of that, the Italians, they have their own trauma. You know, and by the way, Italians they're white, kind of. Really. If we're gonna talk about the olive, I mean, come on now. If we're gonna get real ethnic about it. But my point is, if you were to kill every single African American and create a complete, number one, it wouldn't even make it a white ethno state. You still got to deal with the Hispanics. And then the problem is, well, you all don't understand America's power. America's military is its power, but America's military, there's a reason why Secretary of State is pretty much on par with Secretary of Defense. Or war, like, well, there's a reason why those things are on par. Because Secretary of State is America's soft power. And America would not last on just hard power. Because Americans' freedoms and it's not just about freedom just for freedom's sake. There's a reason why America does not want to be authoritarian. Because to be because here's the problem. For instance, let's say America decided to go real strong authoritarian hyper-patriarchy. Do you believe white women are going to go along with that? And the problem is white men don't have the power to, you can't make everybody do everything. You don't have the bodies to do that. You don't have the bodies, you don't have the guns. The only thing you could really do is just nuke the world. That's the only thing. And this motherfucker is Canadian anyway. Truth be told, if African Americans was his own country, we would, yo. Keep in mind, we're talking about military trained people. We're like, I think 17% of the services. Like literally, oh man. I don't even like, yo, like we would tear you white boys apart. Like you Canadians. Like, yo, for real, man. You are not the fucking SAS. You know, you are y'all. I can't even imagine. Truth be told, man, real talk, we could just get a lot of gangbangers as whack as some of these YNs are, like for real. Just off the vicious. I mean, if you don't shut the fuck up, like for real. I'm sorry, I gotta say this, and I got love for certain Canadian people because I grew up Canadians, but y'all motherfuckers gotta stop teabagging and ball gargling America. Like seriously. Y'all got real upset when Trump, said what it was. Is y'all like California is on par population wise, and California is losing population. The reality of the situation is y'all piggyback. Y'all already got defeated. Y'all let them bitches basically cuck your ass up there, and y'all be trying to give these white boys out here like warnings, like don't be y'all like the Flash. Y'all like the fucking Flash. And remember the Apocalypse version of DC Universe, Snyder's Universe, poke it in there. Don't let them win! Winnable fucking free nigga! That's y'all. Y'all already lost. Y'all can't flex. That's like Jordan Peterson down here crying. Jordan Peterson low-key got fucking excommunicated out of, he can't even talk. The white bitches shut his ass up. Like straight like that. And so y'all not gonna do shit. Y'all ain't got the y'all don't add shit to the numbers. Truth be told, they do better going and getting a lot of white Hispanics. Cause at least white Hispanics will have at least some teeth on them. Y'all ain't got teeth like that. Fucking maple syrup, and I'll fuck y'all and y'all hockey. Truth be told, black people don't like to go and we don't like to skate. Cause if we did, we will mollywop your ass. Maybe the Eastern Europeans will give us some trouble, especially on skates. But y'all, we will mop y'all like straight like that, man. I'm not even trying to be an asshole, but look straight like that. So a lot of times when I see like Canadian racists, I'm like, yo, you motherfuckers need to handle your own fucking country, because black people ain't got nothing to do with why your country, y'all country is so sad. That's white people did that. And truth be told, that's because it's, man, please. Anyway, because I'm getting off track. But my point is that if you did, even if they came and purged, first of all, if you purge, if you were to do that, number one, this is what you don't understand. This is what's gonna happen. Like, let's say African Americans kind of went. Number one, we wouldn't go out like Gaza because African Americans got guns too. We've already been through that. It was called Jim Crow. So it wouldn't be like that. Even if you blocked out everything, understand, yeah, at the end of the day, people be gone, but guess what's also gonna happen at the end of the day? Y'all gonna lose numbers too. And let's say that happened, y'all, their numbers were lost. See, here's another thing that a lot of these cowards always count on. These cowards, when they got this, they count on the police, and they count on the military. If that didn't happen, I'm not worried about you civilians. The reality is, the reason why the KKK did what they did is because, number one, because the KKK ambushed people. The few times the KKK really shot the fade, they had to go get the National Guard. They got involved. When it was just them and black men fought back, It wasn't an issue. It was only when you had to deal with the police and all of that it became a problem, when we started getting firebombed and stuff. See, that's what they don't like to talk about. That's what they don't like to talk about. They don't. But let's say all of that happened, and at the end of the day, certain percentage of people, like, it wasn't significant blows, percentage, like I'm saying, and every African American in the United States is gone. Number one, China will use that to turn a lot. Number one, even if Africans don't fuck with African Americans like that, China will use that and say, this is what they want to do to you, and use that as a living example. Most of the resources, like especially the rare earth minerals, are in Africa, and China controls the other, it's in their borders. They will use that. America has its own resources, but essentially China will use that to choke Europe out. So I don't know if you plan on every white person ethno-state-wide just going to America and you creating a magical white ethno-state. Because, see, the reality is you got to worry about China. And I'm sorry, it's not enough. 60% of the globe, 60% of the globe is Asian. China's 1.5 billion, and their population alone, not counting their diaspora. India's 1.5 billion. Technically, Pakistan is ethnically Indian within that cluster, so they're technically Asian, and they're 350 million. So you're talking about 3.35 billion. Now, some people say that China's lying about their population. Nobody says India's lying about their population. And I personally believe that shit is propaganda, because if people really found out how many Chinese there were, a lot of white people would get nervous. But we don't know. I can't definitively say that. I'm not gonna say that as definitively as I will say the world is round. I'm not gonna definitively say they got 1.5, but that's what the numbers are, and people don't publicly dispute that. But the point is, they definitely got a bigger population in the United States. And when you look, and Asians are at least 60, if not 60, they're at least 45% of the population. So the reality is that what a lot of people, a lot of these races don't understand is America's greatest power is its soft power. You know what's funny? You got a lot of fucking nerds that love Star Trek. And there's some channels, I'm not going to name certain channels, there's certain channels that are really good at breaking down a lore. Lore Reloaded is a good one, for example. But but I'm not talking really about content creators, but you got a lot of motherfuckers that they're nerds, but they don't fucking understand like a lot of the deep shit about it. Star Trek greatest weapon was its soft power, its ability to say we have a utopia and give people saying that there's a better way to do stuff. The Klingons, and stand on it to enough to where people can respect that. To say there's a better way to do stuff than how it's being done. That's how they dealt with the Klingons. The Romulans, that's how they ended up getting dealt with. That was their soft power on top of military strength. Soft power, see, empathy, at least their perception of it, it's what allows America to say we're the good guys and everybody else is bad, and therefore we have the moral authority. That's what allows that. America had slavery. It exists in its form because of it. Very few countries, that is equivalent to the Holocaust. And yet America has pulled this thing where it can use its soft power, which creates a lot less interest on its hard power. Because even though America projects its power to protect trade lines that, by the way, everybody benefits from when it comes to shipping lanes, by the way, which is the British used to do that before, right? The reality is there was never alternative. China's an alternative. And by the way, sped up by America and American greed. Brought to you by Nixon and Kissinger. White people, brought to you by white people and their greed. Whatever. Even though NAFTA was supposed to be trade, whatever. Globalization brought to you by the elite. But its soft power is what makes it infinitely cheaper for America to project power than it otherwise would. It makes it a heck of a lot more sustainable. And the problem is, this is one of the reasons why when Louis Armstrong, this is one, like, a lot of people don't really understand why Martin Luther King was effective. Martin Luther King was effective was because the Soviet Union, one of the reasons, is many reasons, but one of the reasons there is the Soviet Union. You got to really think about it. People don't really think about, the civil rights era was 20 fucking years after World War II. People forget that. People really forget that. Martin Luther King was born in 1921. Martin Luther King would have been 14 years old by the end of World War II. People forget that. It's been 25 years. It was longer. It's been longer since 9/11 than it was the civil rights movement in World War II. People forget that. People forget the Nazis were still being hunted. People forget that. This stuff was a lot more fresher in people's minds. Stuff was rebuilding. People forget that. They don't think about that. They just think all these things like these different eras. They're not. It's all cascade together. Even don't let people forget World War I was what? Like 25 years before that. What? Yeah. Which was the end of the Ottoman Empire. Which is what Turkey is. A Turkish Ottoman ethno-state. But nobody calls it that. But that's what it is. That's what the issue with the Kurds are. Why they always keep getting fucked up. And they don't be doing shit to nobody. But anyway, my point is, Martin Luther King was effective in moving legislation. It's a couple of factors, but a factor that never gets talked about was the fact that the Soviet Union was saying, this is evil American capitalism. Look at what they're doing to black people. It doesn't matter if they don't give a fuck about black people. Just like how a lot of y'all, truth be told, don't give a fuck about the Palestinians like that. Y'all may care in saying that's fucked up what's happening to them. But a lot of y'all don't care enough to really say, F it, I don't care if you call me anti-Semitic, I'm going to speak on it. People don't care that much to say, I'm willing to lose my job. I'm willing to be marked with that letter because this is so bad that y'all not willing, y'all don't care that much. And that's my point. Even DJ Khaled, who is Palestinian, by the way. My point is, it was a similar situation with Jim Crow. And that's what they used to try to turn because it wasn't just a military thing. It was who was going to be the controller of the world and who these other countries were going to go by. America, and this is where a lot of these wars, even to the point where we got messed up with the crack era, because cocaine got dumped on ourselves to fund those contras. My point is, we went through shit like that. Y'all motherfuckers ain't really went through shit like that since the Greatest Generation. And Canada ain't went through some shit like that in a minute. Canada's a fucking glorified state. And I don't mean state as its own nation. Still worship the crown. Can kiss my shit. Fucking Quebec can still vote to separate from your ass. We had that conversation already. So, and by the way, Quebec Canadians might as well be a different country than the rest of the country. Hold on. Hold on. Quebec is 9 million people. So that's a fourth population. So it would be 30 million if you take Quebec out, which has their own language, it's French, own kind of cultural situation. Anyway, my point is, that's one of the reasons why civil rights got pushed up. On top of integration was a way of kind of solving that problem, amongst other things too, with our population. They thought they would just be able to bleed our population out, which is why our healthcare system is the way it is. That's the prime reason why it's the way it is. That's why abortion was promoted. And all these things have done at best stagnate our population from a percentage of America's growth, but still 13%. Immigration with bringing white people over here, like in the early 1900s, was in order to minimize our percentage of the population. But Europe doesn't have the white people to import anymore. They really don't, because they have their own demographic problems. Not to mention, a lot of them Europeans don't like the fact that it's not a lot of state benefits in America. They're like, I got it good here. The military, this is where Trump comes in with the military spending, because America spends so much on the military. Europe uses that to basically pacify their citizens with state benefits. This is how they get away with the high taxation and stuff. They can get away with that because we subsidize their military forces. That's why they've gotten lazy with that. My point is, so I say all that to say this. If you get rid of let's say you did, which by the way, it would cost bodies, and it would cost young fighting bodies. Make no mistake. It wouldn't be just a thing if you really did it, because y'all act like y'all want to do it so bad. And I'm really on some, so bad, because y'all really think that will solve everything. Y'all really believe that, because y'all not going to Africa to do it. Y'all not going to Africa to do it, because if you go to Africa to do it, then guess what? America's going to be the villain, because there's no way you can't create an Al-Qaeda situation. You can't false flag it. We already played the terrorist game already. And that's why our debt is so bad in Africa, Afghanistan, oh Jesus, that was a waste of money. As well as Iraq, which only thing that did was help. If Saddam would still be there, we wouldn't have to worry about Iran as hard, or the Persians. They would have been self-checked. But no. We spent, $10-15 trillion over like 1,000 American lives because somebody's ego was hurt. And that's real talk. When you really look at it, I mean, you got to think about how, if you add up the mass shootings in the last 5 years or 10 years or since Columbine, we probably eclipsed that. The gun violence, come on. My point is, let's say you did that and you feeling yourself. China and Russia will use that, and they will use that to turn every nation on the United States. And even though the United States has, the United States doesn't have enough money, it doesn't have enough military power to control the world because we don't have the numbers. Afghanistan and Iraq was a perfect example. Yeah, America bulldozed those motherfuckers, but holding it cost a lot of money. And you think you're going to do that with the world? Even if you get the Europeans involved, but you don't have all white people, because the Slavics are not necessarily wouldn't be on board with that to that extent, because they have their own issues as far as the ones that are against the West. Look at Ukraine. If America was so powerful to just enforce their will, remember, that's white on white violence. Remember that. And remember that. And the thing is, again, you gotta deal with the Asians. You got the point is, what that will do to America's reputation will be all China really needs to flip the table. And the idea is, oh yeah, of course you say that, but we could always make a deal with China. China wants to, are you willing to cede the #1 spot to China though? Are you willing to give that up? Because understand, this goes back to the population problem. Y'all got a smaller population. These white women are not going to start having babies because, truth be told, Europe has a different issue. It ain't white women having kids. A lot of white women having kids with Muslims. Muslims are like the Hispanics here. It ain't a whole bunch of black people in Europe like that. That also doesn't deal with the African problem. And they wouldn't even need to really negotiate the United States because Africa is the key. Europe has been the main manager of Africa in the resource extraction situation backed by American military. The truth is, without the United States, the Africans would have been able to bleed out the Europeans because they were too busy fighting each other. The truth is, Europe never truly recovered from World War II. Not population wise, they never truly recovered. And not to mention, it's not just black versus white. You have to deal with these other people that are going to look at and it's going to weaken the white population. There's more black people on this planet than white people. And the guns don't, even y'all having guns don't fix that. Because if y'all were to go in there and try to clear out again, that's what the issue is in Burkina Faso. You got the Russian, I forget what they're called. They're paramilitary down there. Y'all not, like, Russia ain't trying to make a deal. Russia tried to make a deal with the West. Even during the Russian Federation, after the Soviet Union. Russia's not trying, it's not going to be this carve up shit. They're like, no, we did that. Y'all left the Russians out when you carved out Africa. Fuck y'all. That's one of the biggest issues they got. They're like, fuck y'all. I'm on some Peter the Great shit. Y'all had y'all time. It's our time. That's what they're on. Which is why there's a political situation now. So this like magical dream, cause see again, what white people and the guys like Legion of Men do not understand, because you all grew up in this fucking leave it to Beaver idea of whiteness. You all do not understand. A lot of you all have forgotten about the different white ethnicities and the ethnic issues. Y'all forgot about the issues. The Irish, just because they come over here, don't mean the Irish don't still got an issue with the Anglos. There was a situation where what Prince Harry, it was either Prince Harry or the dude is the next in line. He was shaking hands for the Oppenheimer movie. It was either that or it was Pickney Blinders. And the dude that played Cillian Murphy had his hands in his pockets. And I was like, that's some crazy shit, man. That's like a good head of state and you just got your hands in the pockets? That sounds like some nigga shit. Like what? You know? And if it was Obama, I would have had a problem with that if it was Obama and Obama did that and they did that. But that's a thing. I believe he's Irish. That's a real issue from the issues that they have. Just like the Prussian, this is why people wonder why Trump was willing to talk to Putin. People, y'all actually believe in this thing called whiteness. The capitalists don't believe in that. The truth is the capitalists, they use whiteness to control you. They believe in their own ethnicities. You don't believe me? Look at the not like Mars families and the rich. Now, the ones that are old money rich, you don't see a lot of mixing. Not as much. It's there a little bit, but not a lot. Not as much as you think. Now you got people like we gotta remember what's called Jewish Facebook owner. You get what I'm saying? So my point is, so that technically doesn't count. But my point is, y'all really think a purge is all you need. You all are fucking stupid. Like straight up. Straight up. You notice how y'all never hear white people talk about Luigi? You notice that? You notice that? The white of all this like chatter that you hear, like, you know, with them, Luigi is not brought up like that. You know why? Because even though I'm not the type of person, I'm not saying violence is the answer, but there's this idea that, you know, black people say violence is not the answer because we're in a weaker position. Honestly, the South Africans could clear out if they really want, but they say violence is not the answer. And do not believe it is because of what America would do. South Africa is a part of the BRICS. So if China said no, we protect South Africa's sovereignty, America ain't gonna do shit because it's gonna cost too much. For what? They're gonna say, South Africans, you bring your ass over here. We're not gonna fuck with them. We'll sanction the shit out of them, but you all bring your ass over here, or it is what it is. Y'all really overestimate how many numbers you all have. You all are losing numbers all the time. Let's not even talk about the fentanyl situation, which, we're not locking white people up. Guess what? That also is a double-edged sword. You know why? Because, when you put Narcan in Walgreens and everywhere, that's still bleeding like a virus through the white population, especially the poor white population. And because they're not going to jail or going to medical facilities or mental facilities, because guess what? All the Dems and the reps have removed funding from, the mental health facilities. You all get to keep on pumping that shit in you until it kills you, rather than you going to jail and actually really getting clean. In a state-sanctioned facility called a prison. And you all have way more numbers. That shit is basically like the crack era, just because it's not talked about, and that shit happened during COVID. And as people get more depressed, the self-deletions, because motherfuckers can't take shit. This stuff, just because this is not being talked about, doesn't mean it's not happening. And with all of that, it's all black people's fault. You all blame black people for everything because you're a coward, and you blame black people for everything because when white people tried to go at the elites crushed you. That's what the Occupy Wall Street shit was about. And so white men have a very bad habit of punching down. They really do. We're not even going to talk about the homoerotic obsession white men have with the black penis, which is why you even have a lot of white women starting to talk about like how Grindr is exploding during like certain like Republican events, which by the way has happened before when all them like 3 senators like Idaho, from areas you would have never thought, Idaho, like crazy places, got caught in gay sex scandals. It's not even about karma. It's not karma because it's self-inflicted. You know who owns Big Pharma. I live in an area where Big Pharma is pretty strong out here. We've got pharma manufacturing places like Pfizer. We have it's a lot of money coming to where I'm at because remember, the triangle, the original thing that made the triangle was biotech. So I'm in an area, yeah, Kevin. Like, see, nobody's talking about this. All you got is it's homoerotic, blame black men for everything. And it's just like what black women do with white men. Black women will talk about white men, obsess over white men, but what they don't tell you is part of them talking shit about white. A lot of the women that talk the most shit about white men, even the black feminists, are the main ones sucking their dick. Because emotions in their mind, if you was constantly revving, even black women are starting to say that. When you see black women that say, these blue-eyed devils, Neanderthal, those be the main ones on their knees. The main ones. Yeah, Larry Craig. No, one of them was from Idaho. It wasn't, I don't even think it was Utah. I think Craig was Idaho. It was like 2. And so, y'all act like people don't say this shit because, it is what it is. Because a lot of dudes aren't trying to be in a position where you're just mad because blah, blah, blah. You never beat. It wasn't a war. People were stolen. People were bred. Y'all didn't actually go in there. Like, even with the Ghanaians and all of that, you barely really beat them, to be honest with you. It was, with the Ashanti. Like, and really that fucking, what they call it, not the flu, but you got yellow fever. You know what I'm talking about. Was fucking y'all up. But at the end of the fucking day, for real, the reality is a lot of y'all do not understand geopolitics, and you all got so much tunnel vision. Y'all talk about 13%. Black men, first of all, black men are 6% of the population. So when you talk about violent crime, women don't commit violent crime like that in general. At least not the crime that's based on the statistics you're talking about. So even if I would, and number two, that's like y'all saying, like every black man is committing violent crime. Black men are 6% of the population. So even at 1350 bullshit, and number two, when you look at the shit, like, again, you see this shit, these are white TV, white people that control these airwaves, and you see all this stuff that's constantly happening. It's constantly white men doing it. Black men do shit in black communities. Y'all do shit in y'all communities. But it's always this somber shit. Malaria, yeah. And so even with COVID, Africa was affected the least by COVID. As far as its population numbers, we're not even going to talk about what COVID did to a lot of people's population. And so I don't know who the fuck you all looking at in the mirror when most of you white boys ain't got it like that. You all are depending on the military and weapons and technology. You all are not just gonna go one by one and clear shit out. The civilians damn sure ain't gonna do it. So when y'all talk all this, and if you did, you're talking about African American, y'all not talking about nobody else? Because you don't have the numbers to occupy the planet like that. Because if you did, America wouldn't be in this situation, Europe wouldn't be in this situation. And I'm not even talking about because I know the world don't really fuck with African Americans like that. I'm not even talking about, oh my God, they're going to just be upset about Africa. I'm not even banking on that. But what happens next? Everything just becomes magically together. You're magic. What you gonna do something? You're going to do the same thing to your women? You're just going to make them comply? You're gonna put, if y'all could do that, y'all would do that. As SWP says, he said it before, he's saying it again. The issue is economic. And black men don't got y'all jobs. Y'all worry, black men ain't got your jobs. We're first to be fired, last to be hired. Black men ain't fucking y'all. Y'all are overinflating how much black men are really fucking y'all women. Y'all really act like we fucking y'all to extinction. And that's why, and really a lot of that has to do with this homoerotic obsession white. And by the way, your women have low-key alluded to that shit. Told on y'all about that. And this ain't just about, this is about any of these motherfuckers. Even like Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes thinks he's smart. And as we said, he's got some gears turning. But the reality is ideology controls him. He's a slave to ideology. Now, the blacks, in his mind, the dark ages didn't exist. White people pulled themselves out of the dark ages. There's a reason why you got Moors in a places you got a lot of these kings and queens. But you can't say that because their ideology, Nick Fuentes is a product of the American public school system. And that speaks for itself. So at the end of the day, just black men don't talk about it because number one, y'all not really gonna do shit when it comes down to it. You can look at the targets these people are doing right now. These are soft targets. Y'all schools, churches, waterfronts. This is what the fuck. And by the way, he don't comment on that even though that shit's all over the fucking news. Because they're cowards. They're incapable of solving the problem. Because they have been so pushed through everything is Negro's fault that they have literally got tunnel vision. It's actually amazing. It's actually amazing when you think about how much tunnel vision these people have. To the point where you allow somebody like Andrew Tate to use that in a minute. Like you allow Myron. You allow outsiders to literally massage that. and pander to that when they don't give a fuck about you. They're in it for themselves. You really think Myron would say that shit to the extent that he says it if it wasn't money in it? Same thing with the Hodge twins. If we get the fuck out of here, man. My point is, you hear all this shit and they be talking about Civil War, we're gonna do it. So no, you not. No, you not. You all are gonna get upset. And you all are gonna, you already did Charlottesville. You already did January 6th. You only got a couple of cracks at that bat. And so I hear these people, posting these posts. People sharing these posts about fucking Discord. Motherfuckers foaming at the mouth. You ain't gonna do shit but post. That's what you gonna do. Hit that keyboard a little bit harder and hit that fucking mouse a little bit harder. Because if y'all were gonna do shit, you would have did it. They don't think about that. Like, honestly, the African American I'm not saying we will wax everybody. I'm not saying that. But quiet as it kept, it's a lot of countries we alone will wax. There's a fucking reason why America refused to put AFRICOM in Africa. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why they don't like a lot of special forces African Americans. And it ain't because we can't swim. That's bullshit. That's just an inside joke. So when you hear like a lot of these dudes talking and shit, like it's like sometimes I'd be like, yo, jump, please. Jump. I'm waiting for the first, yeah, man, Joey Carter, had a shootout with Raheem Tyrone and Kite and LaMarcus. They're affiliates with the Crip gang or the Disciple. Truth be told, African Americans got to worry more about Hispanics when it comes to that. Say with the Hispanics who do gang on gang violence. Hispanics are way more quicker to actually be violent with African Americans than a lot of white people will. Y'all want to call 911 on shit. Y'all want the cops to do it for you. Just like even with ICE. Y'all 911 in this shit. Officer, I want you to get him. Y'all not gonna do shit yourself. But y'all get on this keyboard talk about what the fuck y'all about to do. These motherfuckers wanted a black person. Black men don't give a fuck about Charlie Kirk. All that shit, he was talking about black men in particular. And black men didn't give a fuck. But a white dude did. I guess that's the real insult, isn't it? This dude spent he's a man of God, yet he's got so much to talk about because white people, their whiteness is based against blackness. That's how they base their whiteness. Because if black people didn't exist, they would kill each other. They would be fighting each other. That's why they low-key need black people. A lot of white people wouldn't fuck. Like, look at Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk. They were rivals. And not like friendly, not Ken and Ryu rivals. They were Goku Vegeta before in the original Dragon Ball Z series rivals. And so at the end of the day, man, I said it before and I'm gonna say it again. Every time I laugh when I see y'all talking all this shit about black men, because that tells me y'all eyes completely off the ball. And I'm not even talking about fuck black men. I'm talking about even for y'all. The more y'all focus on black men, the less y'all focus on who really fucking you. The more y'all talk shit about black men, the more y'all worried about black men, the more that tells me you scared. That's all that tells me. All that tells me is you all are not see. And again, I don't want nobody, oh man, you're justifying. No, I'm not. Luigi did what he did. That, some people can say that was, people aren't saying that's political, but I mean, look at what happened when he did that. I'm not saying that's the thing to do. But what I will say is he didn't talk. And he did that in New York. He did that in New York, didn't try to kill himself, tried to get away, which, hey, why not? And he's he's to the point. Now, you know what's funny? White women, you go look up how white women are, oh my God, Luigi, oh my God. Oh my God. He stood on what he did. And he's going to deal with the legal, he's going to go through trial as whatever, and he ain't even poor. Luigi come from upper class background. It's very few of y'all that's like this him. It's very few, and I think he's what, Italian? Very few, so he ain't white. Italian's been white since 1988. There's very few y'all like that. So y'all be talking all this shit about what the fuck y'all gonna do. Like, for real. On these, like, fucking subliminal ass posts. It ain't just him. It ain't just him. He just more open about it. And the truth is, you get Nick Fuentes. Yeah, Nick Fuentes will talk to black conservatives because they're ass kissers. Candace Owens is incapable of having a real conversation with other conservative because she's compromised. She knows why she's there. She said as such. She knows what the hierarchy is. Nick is not scared to talk to somebody else, but talking to shit, has Nick Fuentes even talked to Destiny? Maybe he has, maybe he has. Our Destiny got demonetized. But truth be told, has Nick Fuentes talked to Tariq Nasheed? You were like you think Nick Fuentes, if even though we wouldn't put him in front of a Dr. Claude Anderson, Nick Fuentes doesn't. Nick Fuentes is ahistorical. You can tell. And I'm not fuck some Egyptian shit. He's ahistorical. What happened here? None of these white people ever acknowledge. Richard Spencer was one of the more honest ones. Richard Spencer, like, none of these motherfuckers like to talk about Jim Crow. Because that was state assisted. That's Fuentes' problem. He's ahistorical, like Legion of Men. It's just whatever history are we talking about. Oh my God. Like, y'all foaming in the mouth, fucking redneck ass, like, for real. I be like, yo, sometimes I be like, yo, the shit y'all be talking, I be like, yo, do something. Do something other than fucking shooting up white children and white women in a fucking waterfront just having a good time. Why don't y'all do some shit that's somewhat honorable when it comes to catching a fade? Motherfuckers should be in bed. Like, I gotta tell you, I gotta be straight up. If there was a gang that was just crashing out just on some random shit, shooting kids, like, I would be embarrassed. I would be so embarrassed by that. And yeah, you can talk about gang violence. That's collateral damage. We're talking about you just saying, I need the blood in. All right, I need you to go to this elementary school and let them know what time it is. What's that song? You better run, outrun my gun. All the little kids do that's a white song. That is some, like, and we just talk like they over. This is this. Man, get the fuck out of here, man. I don't give a fuck about, because see, the truth is, the incel shit, at the end of the day, man, let's be very clear about Nick Fuentes. There's a lot of motherfuckers that will move on Nick Fuentes' word. So you can say what you want to about incel, You can say what you want to about incel. Nick Fuentes, there's motherfuckers that will follow that motherfucker. So you can say what the fuck you want to say about him being an incel. The definition of an alpha is somebody that other men will follow. And that motherfucker has a lot of men that will follow him. And that is power. And do not underestimate that shit. You know, I'm just being real, dirt bike. I'm very confident Nick Fuentes can call up a lot more people than you can for a fade. And I'm just saying, that's the type of thing we need to kind of pay attention to. Not some, yeah, man, you know, he didn't get bitches. He didn't get bitches. Hitler didn't get bitches like that either. Especially before he became, you know, who he was. Remember that. Remember that. I'm just saying, like first to get, man, he don't get bitches, nigga. Come on, like, see, especially in this. I get what you're saying, but especially in this video, don't be that. Nigga don't get bitches. I've actually been looking into him. That motherfucker can call up a lot of dudes that will move for him. Like, don't do that. Like, this is politics talk. Y'all niggas really thinking you're a bit like, nigga, you like niggas getting bitches. Them bitches ain't gonna fight for you. And you gotta remember, niggas, he an incel. That don't mean shit. Andrew Tate ain't, and a lot of them listen to him. Like, your ability to get bitches ain't got nothing to do when it comes to warfare and the fight. That don't mean shit. Every soldier don't be getting bitches like that. And soldiers are known to be getting cheated on. Remember that. So, come on. Dudes all, man, get bitches, you know. I mean, y'all, like, and honestly, man, that incel shit is really a fucking, like, again, man, like, Jesus. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. But I'm not talking about that either, am I? I'm not talking about some ambush shit. That's not what I'm talking about. And see, that's the problem with black men, is black men got an ego problem. Anybody can get touched. I mean, Charlie Kirk is an example of that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, you see now, anybody, I mean, you see in the last couple of weeks, anybody can get ambushed. I mean, shit, white dudes, that's the problem, but what I'm talking shit about. They ambushing civilians. What he's saying is, we have enough men. If you compare our population of men to other population of men, that's what he's talking about. I get what he's saying. Yeah, so a lot of y'all got to stop that tic-tac, get back shit, ego stroking shit. That's one thing y'all got to stop doing. Yeah, man, this nigga don't get bitches. Yeah, that man. I mean, look, if you got a dude point a gun at you, you know, shit, it don't matter. You can kill me, nigga. You still gonna die. You still an incel, and I got pussy. Like that. Yeah, come on, man. That's how some of y'all niggas sound. It don't matter, nigga. I get bitches. I'ma haunt your ass and make sure you don't never get no pussy.
Remember that, nigga. I'm gonna put a hex on your ass and make sure it don't never get up.
Anyway, I may switch this one to the Patreon. Cause I was just about to get a strike pulled off. I don't need to get another one put back on. I really don't. But anyway, that being said, this is Edward signing off.